Greenlights. I'm a consultant and research manager there, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to go through this logic model workshop with you today. Just wanted to give you a real quick background on myself and kind of how I got interested in evaluation and doing logic models. Prior to coming to Mission Capital, I spent about 8 years working in the public school system, first for the nonprofit communities and schools, and then for the Austin Independent School District. And it was really during my time as a social worker that I was wrestling with those questions such as, is what I'm doing really making a difference? And how can I learn and improve and get better, make more of a difference for the children and the families that I was working with? And luckily, through my work at AISD, I had the opportunity to work with an evaluator on a program and really begin to see that while there aren't certainly easy answers to those questions, using evaluation and really looking at our data can be a really important place to begin to make those program improvements. And I've been sitting in here for the past hour or so and have already heard a lot about sort of using data and continuous learning and improvement. So excited to be here amongst you all. Also, I serve on the board of a STEM organization here in town, Phoenix Arising, that has representation here today. And so this STEM education in particular is a passion of mine. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We just have 1 hour today for this. So our goals for today are giving you just a really basic overview, understanding of what a logic model is. I know many of you are already familiar with that, so just want to do kind of a quick overview. And then to have you begin to do some work in either developing the logic model for your program or refining yours. So quick show of hands, how many of you all already have a draft logic model or a model in place for your program? Okay, so quite a few of you. Great, so yeah, please take that out and be looking at that as we go through the day today and be thinking about how you might want to make some revisions to it as we move forward. Okay, so logic model overview. We've got the picture of the map there, right? Because I think it's helpful to really think of a logic model as really your guide, right? Being able to really show what it is you're doing and then the results that you want to achieve from it. So oftentimes with logic models, it can be helpful to think of them as a number of, or a series of if-then relationships, right? So if we put in place certain resources, then it will lead to us being able to deliver certain activities. And if we have those activities in place, then it will lead to specific outcomes, specific results for the students, for the participants in our program. So there are lots of different ways that a logic model can look. So if you were to do a Google search, right, you would see many, many different types of logic models. Some actually use sort of circles or concentric circles, but oftentimes kind of the typical traditional logic model is a series of boxes, right? And on the left-hand side, that's your planned work, that's your resources and your activities, what it is you're doing in your program. And then on the other side, it's your intended results, your outputs and your outcomes. And we'll be talking through each of those today. But that's generally the framework for your logic model. So why create a logic model? Why is it useful? And definitely, I think, for a number of different reasons. I think one thing that can be particularly helpful about the creation of a logic model is really making sure that all staff and even your board are all on the same page about your program. I think oftentimes we as nonprofits, we tend to talk about our programs in terms of kind of the activities that we're providing, right? Like we provide summer programming or after school programming, but logic model begins to help us kind of reframe that and to think a little bit more about, okay, what is it that we're trying to accomplish, right? That we're trying to get students more interested and engaged in STEM, or getting them to think more about what careers are out there in the STEM field. So it gets us to kind of provides that common language for the organization. Now, ideally, everyone who's involved in the programming would have the opportunity to help develop your logic model. And if that's not possible, then at least giving folks the opportunity to see that, to make sure that everybody has an understanding of what your program is doing and truly what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And then finally, it's that important base for all of the evaluation work, right? So you're getting clear about kind of your targets. Is it 80% of students that you're trying to do this, or what's the dosage in your programs? So getting really clear and having that as your base that will then lead to your ongoing evaluation efforts. So with evaluation, we all know that there are many uses for evaluation, and that kind of traditionally there has been that focus on accountability, right? Accountability to funders, to our boards, to stakeholders in the community. But we also want to make sure that we're really using our logic models and evaluation work to do that important work of really learning and improvement. And again, I've heard a number of folks, and Melanie speak to that today, just really looking at, hey, we're not always going to reach our targets, but that's okay, right? It's that process of continuing to learn and improve to get better at what it is that we're doing. Okay, so now I want to just do kind of a brief overview of the first two components of the logic model. So that would be the inputs. Actually, I forgot. One thing first. So before we get into inputs and activities, it's going to be important to think about who is your target population for your particular programming, right? And to just clarify that within your logic model. So who are you in the business of helping? Is it middle school students? Is it elementary school students of a certain age? Is it a certain geographic area that you're targeting? So making sure that you have your target population clear. And that may mean that you have to say no to some groups so you can serve your target population better and more effectively. Okay, so then once you've thought through your target population, and in just a few minutes I'm going to give you some time to think about target population and then your inputs and your activities. So your inputs are all of those resources, so human, financial, organizational, that you need in order to run your program. So if you jump to the next slide, just in terms of kind of some quick examples, obviously human resources is a big one, right? Your staff or your volunteers that you're going to need to run this program. Facilities, equipment, are there certain partners? Are you partnering with another organization or with a school district to serve these activities in the community? And when you're working on your resources, definitely just think of really those sort of core resources. You don't have to list everything, like I sometimes see a logic model that has like papers and markers, and right, don't have to list all of that, but you want to get those core components down. Okay, so once you've got your resources in place, then you're documenting all of your core activities that staff are going to be providing or volunteers are going to be providing in order to implement your program. So you want to get specific there. Is it field trips? Are there certain types of activities? Is it robotics or is it aviation? What are the specific kind of components of your activities? You can be specific. Is this a school-based program? Is this individual learning, group learning? And then also here, be thinking about dosage. And I believe in listening to Melanie's presentation, in your application, there's some more information that you'll be including about dosage, but really getting clear in your logic model about what's required to get at those results that you want to achieve. So is it 200 hours of programming over an 8-week period? Is it daily? Is it twice a week? Because that's obviously going to have a big impact on the results that you're going to see. If you've got a program that you're only doing for 1 hour a week for a month, definitely less kind of results than a more intensive program. Okay, so what I want to do now is give you about 7 to 10 minutes to just work on this first section of the logic model. So if it's brand new for you, if this is your first time in doing it, you've got a template that Lauren passed out, and you want to think about, again, your resources, your activities, and your target population. If you already have a model, just pull that out and spend a little bit of time looking at it and seeing, are there things that you need to refine, or maybe you're doing something different with your programming this year that you want to make some changes to. And during this time, some folks are going to be also kind of circulating the room and helping to answer questions. I will as well, so please let us know if you have any questions, and then we'll come back together again in about 7 minutes. Okay? Great.